Hi and welcome. Today we'll discuss the Hotwire approach, but also we'll mostly focus on the turbo drive with turbo frames and turbo streams, but as in request response. In this video, we will not discuss turbo streaming over WebSocket as this slightly different thing than turbo streaming as the request response. We'll cover that in the next video. Of course, as always, I'm here with Tomek. Hey, Tomek.
Hi, Łukasz. That was fast. Yeah.
That was recent. Okay, Tomek, what's this Hotwire? Could you explain it to us, to our viewers, to me as well?
Yeah, let's jump into the Miro board because we have some drawing for you. Well, Hotwire is an approach, as you mentioned here. So, but instead of sending like JSON between server and client to get the data, we send the HTML over the wire, right? So we send the HTML rendered on the server side, and on the client side, we just replace the whole page, or we replace just a piece of the page, depends, right? And the Hotwire consists of three, let's say, components: Turbo, Stimulus, and Strada, right? We will cover the topic of Turbo, mostly because Stimulus is like just if you want to do some kind of magic, but small magic on the front end side. We don't use it too much because the Turbo is more than enough for us for our cases.
Yeah,
and Strada is for native apps, right? But we've never worked
haven't
with
used
it.
it
So
yet. Yeah, so that's just to add one thing, Stimulus lets you cover the places where you actually need some JavaScript. But as Tomek mentioned, in most cases, we don't do that. And also, I just wanted to make one thing more precisely. So you mentioned that we will generate the HTML on the backend, on the server side, and there will be no need to have the second application which represents the JavaScript client or second architecture of the front-end application. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh wow, long live server-side rendering. Okay,
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's dig into Turbo.
Yeah. Just adding to that, I think I don't recall when we had to write any JavaScript, right? In our projects.
Yeah, we work on the Excel-like app right now, which is complex. It has this one very complex view, which consists a table with many cells, and also on the top of the table there is a graph, and we do use a little bit of Stimulus to refresh this graph, and also we use Stimulus to render editable cells, but that's for other episode. Today we are not discussing Stimulus, but yeah, that's maybe 20% in the app. That's very small amount of the code of the JavaScript, which everyone hates, by the way. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So now if we are talking about the Turbo, it also contains from 4 parts. Let's say Turbo Drive, Turbo Frames, Turbo Streams, and Turbo Native. We will not cover this one as we've never worked with it actually. It's about the native apps, but then Turbo Drive is like a bit persistent for us, right? It's about links and submits, and actually the framework handles quite well, right? We don't have to work with it explicitly. I think, right? I mean, you don't have to think about it. But then we have like Turbo Frames and Turbo Streams, and there are quite interesting differences between them.
Yeah, so just to summarize, Turbo Links, as Tomek mentioned, it lets you build the app and with the links, with redirects and force ambitions to get the spa-like experience, together with Turbo Frames that lets you decompose the page to smaller parts, and also Turbo Streams. And well, okay, I'll leave this one because this one is most confusing. People think about it as a WebSockets, but it's not always the WebSocket.
Yeah, exactly. That's I think that's a common mistake, I think.
I had this as well, right? I was kind of first time I started working with Turbo. First of all, I was surprised that I'm getting the full HTML page as a response. I was like, why do I need those headers and so on? Turns out you don't need to do it like this, but this is the most basic form that may work for you for a very long time. So that was the one thing. I was expecting smaller responses, but then also I didn't clearly get when there is a WebSocket and then when there is just TurboStream as a response.
Yes. So I think we can jump into the code, right?
Yes, let's jump into the code. We'll present the approaches.
So just in the projects controller, we remove the pagination because we wanted to show you the let's say the full example. Here we fall.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen the episode about pagination, you can watch it somewhere here.
Yep. And in the index HTML, we we have the frame approach now, where we have the turbo frame tag for the projects table, and one for the project stop, where we have the number of all projects in all projects. So if we go to the browser now here, you can see that if we destroy this project here, it disappeared from the table, right? Because we got the HTML where we were replacing the whole frame, so the whole table with projects.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have something interesting, we are displaying 979 projects, but here we still have 180 projects, right?
Okay, but wait a second. To be more specific, the preview that Tomek is showing is a response to our delete.
Mm-hmm.
To our delete request. Actually, when we delete, we redirect to index page to fetch all the projects once again. And what we have here is the full page response. And as you can see, the project number is correct. It's 179. But in the UI, you can still see 180. And why is that?
Well, that's because when we were doing the request, in the request params, we have something like turbo frame, and we have the name of the frame which should be replaced, right? So if you are using frames, you are operating on a specific frame only, right? The one that you send in the request. So you can replace only this specific frame, not different frames on the page.
Yes.
Right. So this will not change. This will not change here.
Let's show the code for one moment. Once again, to remind you, the projects table, the frame that we are operating on, it only includes the table. It doesn't include this delete project on the top, right? You can see that in the line. Sorry, it's not delete project, but displaying a number of projects. It is in line number 6. And if we go to projects controller to see the implementation quickly once again, you can see that we only destroy project, redirect to the index. That's it. That's a very simple implementation that you can have. No typical Rails that you would do with or without Turbo if you think about server-side rendering, right?
Yep. And but now, for example, if you would like to, it's just for the demo purpose, delete first project here.
Okay, sorry, we had a small technical break. All right, so when Tomek clicked it, can you click it again, Tomek? No, yep. Just click it regularly, normally. Yeah. So you can see that it works quite fine, but that's because this page is very lightweight. But now it seems okay, but this is a full page reload. So if we scroll down right now and only if you click it right now, then we are reloading. You can see that it reloads the full page because the scroll is back on the top. Okay, and this may be a problem only when you are on the Rails version that doesn't yet support the morph. If you have a morph, the scroll will be persisted. And that's fine, that's expected. However, you can also solve it differently to keep the scroll in the proper place. And we can do that by adding another turbo frame. That would include both the button and the turbo frame tag of this request will be the one closest to the button. And the closest one to the button is the one that Tomek just added in line number 4, which is projects.
Yeah, basically we will replace this frame, right? Everything which is inside the the project's frame. And if we go here, you can see that we removed the row and we changed the number because the full frame from here to the bottom was replaced.
And now if you scroll down, it should persist the scroll, right? Preserve.
Yeah, it was like.
And works great. Okay, so if you have a morph, you may not care about that. If you don't, in your project, you may need to add some turbo frame tag.
But still, it's quite nice because you can see that in the turbo frame, in the request, you were sending the name of the project, right? Frame. So it looks like when you click this one, which is in the top level, let's say frame, you replace the frame, the whole frame. But still, here, if you have some lower level, let's say frame, like here with the destroy, you just remove the project again, right? So it's like you have the project stable frame in the request here.
Exactly. Okay, so that's one of the things. Can we make another request? That's also one interesting thing that I want to show. Can you destroy the first row, for example? And now if we go to the request...
You meant this one, right? You wanted to use this one?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Let's just view the request. And now if we... actually, we need to see the first one, so the 47. So here, I would like to see the request method, request headers. And as you can see, we request as a first format turbo stream. And this is what is confusing. So in this context, the turbo stream is the format that we expect to get from the server. So if the server defines different types of responses, we will get, well, in this case, we should get the turbo stream if we request it, right? If we, and so that's where it's a little bit confusing because people also think about turbo streaming as the streaming over WebSocket, and that's not the case, right? This is just the request and response. I mean, the response actually format that we get back from the server. I hope I didn't make it more confusing.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we just tell the server that we accept those formats, right? So TurboStream, HTML also, and then depends what we have on the backend side. We can return different content. But that might be confusing because, like we mentioned that on the beginning, also that TurboStream doesn't mean that you have to use the WebSockets, and I think that's the biggest difference between turbo streams actually and frames, that if we use frames, we just replace we can just replace the frame. We can just replace the frame, right? But then when we use the turbo streams, we can do more because more like CRUD operations, right? So create, update, delete, append, prepend, right? So we have like more control of which elements in the DOM you can remove or append or change, replace, right? And that's our implementation on the master branch.
But
right?
before that, there's one more thing for the sake of completeness. The line number 2, which represents how that you can actually modify the resource, the content of the frame, even if the element of HTML is not in that frame. And to do that, you can specify the data turbo frame and put the name of the frame. Let's see how it behaves right now. There should be another button on the top. Yes. And now if we click it, as you can see, obviously the project was deleted, so it's not here. That's actually the risk. But now, before I tell you the risk, I'll tell you what happened. So now when we send this request, it was actually the turbo frame tag that we sent was set to projects. So as if this button was in the turbo frame tag called projects. But I want to tell you about the risk. So in this case, as you can see, I mean, this code is pretty stupid because it takes the projects first, but still you have to remember to update this button to what it points to manually. I'm not sure how to do that in that case, but sometimes you may need to do a request for a turbo frame being outside of this turbo frame, especially if you're on the older Rails versions, and this technique may be useful for you.
Exactly. So now we can jump into the master branch,
Yes.
right? Thank you. Yes.
Right,
And
so here you can see that we are a little bit more specific with how we respond, right? And we define two formats. The first format is HTML, so we say that whenever someone asks us for HTML, we just return, we redirect to the project's URL, which will actually re-render the whole page and make the the full page reload actually. So that's not the spa-like experience that we would like to have. And the other line is more interesting. So we are specifying the format TurboStream, and then we use one of the TurboStream methods. The syntax is a little bit weird because we say TurboStream, 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 but this is how it is. And we specify that we will remove a certain item, certain node from the DOM, and we specify the DOM ID for it. The DOM ID 4 is just the wrapper. If I remember correctly, it's just a method on top of the active view, I think. Tomek, can you show the implementation of DOM ID 4? Oh no, it's just hard-coded. But you may use the active view. I think it's called record identifier. Don't remember the name. Yeah. So we can specify this, and now if we use it, it behaves pretty much the same. But as you can see, there's only one request. I mean, there is no redirect, right? So that's pretty cool. The content type is pretty much similar, I guess. The accept is once again TurboStream and then HTML as well, but we would prefer the TurboStream. But what is interesting is the payload. The preview, sorry. The preview. So it's very lightweight, right? So as you can see, it's just one line of the code. I mean, it's pretty simple project, but still you can see that you can fully influence the way that your server responds to the client, right?
We do not replace, right? We just here remove, right? Because when we're using the turbo frame, we would somehow find a way to show the shorter list of projects, but we're using the replace, right, action only, let's say. But now we can we have more possibilities that we can say that we want to remove this the project 50, right? For example, from the list. And also what's interesting, there was no there are no WebSockets right here.
Yeah, no WebSockets.
It's
None, null, nada.
Exactly. So there was just the request, and in the response we got the instruction what should be removed here, right?
Yeah, so very very classical way, nothing fancy. So yeah, I mean, as I said, that we have a little bit of disagreement here. That this the previous approach, so where you re-render the page and only the framework only replaces the parts of the page, especially if those are just turbo frame tags. This is fine for the starts, and for the most of the cases it will be fine till the end of the projects. But when you think about the page that it's very specific, very product specific for you, right? This is the business value that you have, and it is complex, it has a lot of data, then following this approach instead of redirecting to refetch all the data may positively affect your performance. So, but still remember, premature optimization is the root of all the evil thing in the world. So you have to consider it when it's a good time to do that.
Yep. And I think one more thing here, which is also important when we are talking about turbo streams, is that now you could work with different pieces of the page, right? So it's not like just regarding one turbo frame. It's like you can remove, add, append, or whatever different turbo streams on the different elements of the page you can change, right, in the one request. So yeah, if we would have like here the number of projects, we would also we would have like another turbo stream here, which would be also replace probably, which would replace the number of the projects on the page. Okay, so maybe let's try to implement that quickly, right? If we have time. And that was in the index.html, right? And here we have projects. And we would have like, we want to replace the H1, right?
Let's do that.
Okay. So projects count, something like that, right? And we would have, I'm not sure whether we have that, but we should have that, right? Just let me change this one here just for the demo purposes, and let's maybe...
Yeah, don't do that. Don't call the database from the HTML. This is just to quickly implement it.
And now in the controller, we need
if we want to render multiple turbo streams, we can use the array. You're missing comma.
I'm missing comma. Yep. We will do just simple replace, right? For the target, there was a target, we called that projects count.
And just copy this, I guess, the H1.
I think I did, let's see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but here, new classes. And I think this, right? And okay, so we have 150 projects. Let's check. Yeah.
Boom. So you can refresh multiple, you can do multiple actions with the turbo. And as you can see, our response is a little bit larger, because we don't only remove the project 52, but we also replace the content with the template. And obviously you could use a partial here. You may also figure out to just replace the number, or you could even update it. There are multiple ways. It's described in the documentation, so take a look what actions do you have. But if I remember correctly, this is remove, this is update, there is the replace, and also append and prepend, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that's all the actions. So as you can see, there is a difference. And as we mentioned, today we did not discuss the turbo streaming, which happens over the WebSockets, but we'll do that next week. Today we discussed the turbo stream format and other responses, and the differences when you use the approach with turbo stream. It's already getting confusing, versus the approach where you don't actually use the handcrafted turbo streams, where you just use the page reloads with turbo that make it look and feel like a Spark.
Yeah, and this is supposed to be shorter episode.
All right. Thank you for watching. See you next week.
Thank you. See ya.